Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. And today we're going to do the Dark Deck interview with the Dark Mirror Oracle cards by Laura Sava. Now this is truly a dark deck in the sense that for the most part it does deal with darker emotions in life. It is about emotions. It was intended to focus on the processes of grief that people go through. It's only 32 cards, and the fact that it was only 32 cards almost kept me from getting it, but in the end I thought, well, how many dark cards do I really want anyway? Kind of like the Ghosts and Spirits Tarot, this is probably a deck that I would not use for full spreads, but for a single card draw on a given situation. But we're going to run it through the Dark Deck interview and see what happens. Just see if it's even relevant, if it's worth keeping. Okay, so the first question is, how are you a dark deck? And we get this, which says anger and chaos. No, anger and chains. And we don't see much in there. I guess I was thinking chaos because there does seem to be chaos going through here. It looks like a stone lion breaking through glass or something. I don't know. So let me see what it says in the book. So this is how are you a dark deck? Force channeled outside, unreasonable, undirected, but powerful. I've got to break free. I want to be free. Anger is not the road to clarity. It's not a controlled effort or a cold dish. It is raw, primal, explosive. Other people have mentioned that there seem to be some translation problems with the English version in the guidebook. It's a guidebook that has several languages in it. Who made this? This is a Los Scarabeo. It is a loss of reason, the loss of restraint, a bomb burning bright in black color, a wax seal carefully crafted to be immediately broken. But anger is also freedom. How can you break a single thread woven with a million others? So I think this is indicating that it's a dark deck because it's meant for times of distress and managing them in such a way that you manage to break free. When you need to break free, you need to shake and shout. Yep, but it's saying that there are casualties when you do that. Interesting. So it kind of lays out your dilemma. It says you can target, but you cannot choose. Break many to break one. So breaking many things in order to break one, like the chains flying and flinging and damaging things, or save one. In other words, restraining yourself to save many. So interesting. Next, what dis-ease can you help me with? So I think this is one of the positive cards in the deck, but I'll have to look. Peaceful among thorns. So I could see how it would be restraining yourself, or kind of like an Eight of Swords kind of a thing. Staying peaceful, but that peace is also keeping you captive. so to speak, because you're actually not doing the anger in chains in order to break free. But let's see what it says. 26. So, peaceful among thorns, the spiritual can't solve the material, but it can transcend it. Coexistence of the material and the spiritual is the human way to enlightenment. It says here, we talk too much about spiritual stuff, spiritual that, spiritual this. Not that the spiritual side isn't important, especially in an age when everything seems reduced to a materialistic drive, but aren't we going a bit too much on the other side? I have a money problem, go spiritual, etc., etc. So it says, if we were truly able to solve problems like this, what is spiritual would have been sold in grocery stores. Sometimes to solve money problems, you need money, and to solve love problems, you need to have sex. Strange but true. Getting spiritual is not what solves our problems. It is what gives depth to our solutions. It makes them meaningful. It takes us from the small to the wide, from the river to the ocean, but sometimes we are not ready to make it our center, and therefore is perfectly fine if we do not. So this seems to be speaking against what the Osho Zen and the Tarot of Transformation seem to be saying to me. And even I think the Ghost Tarot. I can't remember what other one. I actually kind of like my interpretation before looking in the book better, but let's take a look at what the solution is. Revenge. Doesn't strike me as a very productive solution. Let's take a look. Revenge. It is time to take arms against a sea of trouble and by opposing end them. So that strikes me as my interpretation of sort of keeping the peace and ignoring the restrictions around, finding peace even within restrictions. That statement I just read would indicate a need for action instead of just spiritual passivity or tolerance or whatever. There is no white night, but there can be a black storm woven by fallen angels. What if there was a place where there is no more time for words, no more sense of bargain or negotiate? It's a place we can reach at the limit of our abuse, with the last spark of our dignity surging up as a powerful black flame. We cry, we hurt, and we strike to destroy. So it is, it's supposed to be righteous revenge. It says, we destroy for the fairness of the world. We destroy because if there is no sweet justice, there can at least be cruel revenge. So it's being cynical also. We destroy for those who came earlier, for those who would have come later. So kind of like, taking somebody to court or something. So, yeah, they're calling it revenge, but it's similar to a justice card in a normal deck. A little heavier, but less objective, more Kali energy in here, but it's that kind of thing. So it is kind of tapping into this energy in order to free oneself. Okay, so I can, sorry about all the glare there. I can get that. It's a dark delivery of the message. I don't think there's anything I need to revenge on, but it's certainly a cautionary tale in terms of being aware of how I might be making myself small or not living entirely in my truth, in order to remain peaceful and centered, and yet there's a loss there, and so there might be need for some action. All right, so number 4. What dark aspect of my personality holds me back the most in my relationships? I won't cry for you. So even without reading the book, what I thought of when I saw this was the saying, who could care less more? In other words, having a contest in a relationship, it's like having a silent treatment contest, which I am guilty of. Or there's another example, but it's where you're trying to show somebody that they, if you are in a hurting contest, then you convert, which I'm not very guilty of. Then you convert that to, well, I don't care, and then the other person's, well, I don't care either, and then you end up being in a contest of who could not care less more. But I am guilty of the somebody says, I'm going to withdraw if you don't do X as an ultimatum. I guess that's what it is. I can do ultimatum contests. And then I can, say, all right, we'll do that. I'll take that challenge. We'll ramp it up. Anyway, so I don't do kind of the outright conflict, but if you want me to not care less more, I can go into Queen of Swords mode. So let's see what this says, though. 22. Where is it? So it says here, sometimes when it's over, closure must be created, not just found. I gave you my last gift. I shed my last tear for you. It's a time not to let you free, but to let myself free. So this seems more about trying to get closure, but I'll read a little bit more. It says just breaking up can only be done by two persons. One will do it earlier, maybe, but sooner or later the other will follow. So one can afford to do it with words and actions. The other probably will only be able to do it inside her own heart. It's painful. It's hard. It's necessary. So it's a lot about breaking up. It says you are letting go of a part of yourself, of hopes and dreams and trust. You let go of feelings and memories. Anger will help at the beginning, but the last part of the road can't be done by just anger. Closure comes when you dry up your tears. It is a gorgeous moment when you allow yourself to, frankly, not give a damn. So I like, for my purposes, when I think about myself in relationship, my initial interpretation, I think, is appropriately accusatory for something that I have been guilty of. Now, it could be saying that I'm hanging on to, that I haven't, it can be saying that I haven't gotten complete closure from past relationships and that is also hindering me. It could be. So lastly, what dark aspect of my personality holds me back the most in my career? And I got forgetting oneself. So I don't quite see, well, it can be. This is actually very similar to what I got. Oh, I can't remember what deck it was that gave me Temperance. Was it the Ghost Tarot? I think it was the Ghost Tarot. Where I realized that in forgetting myself, as in my taking care of myself to make sure that I am renewing myself, that I'm going at a pace. So what I tend to do, and I've been aware of this for years, is that when I get focused on a task or I have a number of tasks and I get into my work, I forget about my body. Now I will eat. My belly lets me know to eat. But other things, like I just need to get up and stretch and breathe and go get water and get tea and do things in like a relaxed, meaningful, and not so, especially since I'm working on a computer all day, I just get locked into that task and that screen and that computer, and I do forget about myself. And in many ways, I can't afford to do that, and it creates problems. So, in other words, I'm kind of not looking after my own endurance and sustainability and vitality and all of that stuff, which I need to look after in order to sustain the work, to keep working. So I'll also take a look at what it says here in the guidebook, but I can see that message from it easily. I could also wonder if it's saying forgetting myself as in I should be in some sort of different career, which I think is not happening at this late date in my life. I don't have a strong desire to begin anew. Events, of course, may force me to it, just as it is many people right now. Time as an eternal present, not fleeting but locked. No progress is no regress either. All right, so that's a little bizarre. So not going either forward or backwards. Eating the lotus flower, numbing our identity to go by the sound of a music that was never ours. So this is more, so I'm thinking forgetting myself is about nourishing my body. And here it's not. It is going to the psychological place. And saying more that, I mean, again, it's a bit late, but it seems to be saying, all right, well, you went down a path that is not really appropriate for your personality and who you are. It's like, all right. See, my career at this point, I mean, to me, my career at this point is to make money and to keep me alive. And my dog's alive and pay for the house and all of that. But let's see what else it says here. So it's talking about the numbing. It says if you let go of pressure and pain, if you let go enough of your identity and the context you live in, or in this case, work in, then you will just feel better. It is what happens when you fall asleep, when you take refuge in the arms of a loved one, etc., etc. Sometimes, however, it asks for more. It takes more out of you, more of yourself to be forgotten, to feel just a little better. And maybe the twisted idea that you forgot everything, that if you forgot everything, then you will eventually really feel better. There's all kinds of like fragments here. So it's weird. It's really weird. It kind of goes from negative, oh, you're numbing yourself, to it's harmless. Just let yourself do it. It's just a bit of rest for you. Like the snake, is it Kaa? What is the name of the snake in Jungle Book? Talking to Mowgli, trying to get him to fall asleep, trust in me. And yeah, just go to sleep, no problem. Well, I'm here doing my oracle cards and doing my collaging, so I'm not too concerned that I'm about to disappear, even if my work is more centered on keeping myself solvent. I'm actually very grateful for my work and the people who work there. So, the Dark Mirror. Do I think to me, it does have valuable messages. This is like way over the top, that it's maybe overly dramatic. But I think I will be keeping this deck. For one thing, it is designed around. I think it's this one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the Healy, but I think yeah. It's designed around grief processing. Come on, focus. You can't tell, but that says there, grief processing, and then talks about denial, anger, bargaining. And each card gives what stage it's supposed to represent. Stage bargain, stage depression. So I just think it's valuable that way. So I don't know that this is a deck that I would use very often. But again, as I mentioned at the very start of this, as you get older, there are more losses. And so I think this deck might be helpful. And if this deck doesn't prove to be helpful when that begins to occur for me, then I will likely let it go. But if I could give this a score in terms of how it is reflecting my situation, and I'm happy to say that I don't have any grief going on. Okay, it definitely called me out on that one as I saw it. I feel like this was a warning, but I will likely stay in this mode. And I feel like that was another warning about taking care of my physical body. So I would certainly give it a 6. I would give it like a 6 to a 7, kind of like the Dark Fairy Tale deck. I could give that a 6 to a 7. I think it was better than the Ghosts and Spirits Tarot. But again, it's a little kind of over the top. And frankly, the Osho Zen still reigns supreme. The Osho Zen still reigns supreme as giving me the clearest, most recognizable answers, things that I could recognize in myself. So again, it's like I probably didn't need to get any of these dark decks, these dark themed decks, because I've already got it in the Osho Zen. Anyway, all right, everybody, I am going to continue. I've got 4 more decks. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.